Whoa, that is a lot of jargon. If you're just like a regular consumer and you don't know what all of that means, don't worry, I'm gonna have you covered. Hey, it's Chris, and the brand new MacBook Pros recently came out, and I figured this is a good opportunity to talk about what kind of configuration the average person should get. This should be a very interesting video for anybody who wants to pick up a MacBook Pro, maybe customize it a little bit to make sure they get the most mileage, the most bang for their buck in the coming years. So when it comes to buying your MacBook Pro, there are three things you really need to consider. Number one is the CPU, number two is the RAM, and number three is the SSD. Let me explain what those are, just for the people who don't really have a good grasp. So the CPU is the central processing unit. It's basically like the engine that makes your MacBook run. Here's what Apple says about the processor. Upgrading to the Intel Core i9 processor will take your speeds even higher. The i9 features thermal velocity boost, which enables the CPU to opportunistically turbo up to 4.8 gigahertz when workloads and system thermals allow. At 2.9 gigahertz with a turbo boost speed of up to 4.8 gigahertz, it's designed to handle everything from compiling code to rendering CPU-intensive 3D graphics, all with substantially accelerated compute performance. Whoa, that is a lot of jargon. If you're just like a regular consumer and you don't know what all of that means, don't worry. I'm gonna have you covered, and we're gonna talk about whether or not you should upgrade the processor or CPU. Okay, so what about the RAM? That is your random access memory. You don't even need to know that, but what it is basically temporary storage, so your computer can store all kinds of stuff and access it really quickly. Here's what Apple has to say about the memory. MacBook Pro comes standard with 16 gigs of high performance memory and can be expanded to 32 gigs using all this stuff. The more memory your Mac has, this is the important part, the more apps you can run simultaneously and the better they will perform. If you're planning to run multiple professional applications like Final Cut Pro simultaneously, it's a good idea to max out your memory. Now, it's very important to note that you can't on a MacBook Pro add more RAM later. You can still do that on an iMac, but not on a MacBook Pro. The third thing that we're talking about today is your SSD, or your solid state drive. This is the thing that replaced your hard disk, your hard drive, the spinny little CD looking thing inside computers with like the Fusion drive and everything. That's no more. So here's what Apple has to say about that. MacBook Pro comes standard with 512 gigs of fast SSD storage. Apple Flash Storage delivers noticeable speed from the moment you start up your Mac all the way through data-intensive tasks. For a maximum capacity, you can configure it up to 4 terabytes of storage. That's gonna be really expensive. We'll talk about it. Once you configure all this stuff, that's what it is. You're not gonna be getting in here and changing the SSD or changing the RAM. So you want to make a really good decision from the minute that you actually hit purchase. So right now, I'm actually gonna put this away and bring over the iPad so we can look at this purchase page together and talk about all the different options. Now, obviously, if you're a pro, then you're just gonna max everything out to the extent that you can, and that's that. Like, get the best of everything if you can. For most people, that's not gonna be an option because you can go to the 15-inch and come over here and click on the $2,799 starting package and easily get up into the $7,000 range. Most people aren't gonna do that. So if you want a MacBook Pro with the best that you can afford, what specs should you go extra for and which ones should you hold back on? Here's what I would say to you average people, not the video editors, not the people running like math and science programs or doing 3D, just if you're a regular average person, here is the formula. Storage, RAM, CPU. Storage, RAM, CPU. Storage, RAM, CPU. That is the order. Trust me. So I'm here on the Customize Your 15-inch MacBook Pro page. I'm gonna scroll down past the processor, past the memory, and I'm gonna land on storage. So the base model comes with 512 gigabytes of SSD storage. My first recommendation is to upgrade at least to the 1 terabyte option, which adds $400. Now, you don't have to look far to find people complaining that Apple storage is really, really expensive. And there's a really good reason for that. If you upgrade all the way to 4 terabytes, that's gonna cost an extra $3,200 from the 512 option. That's crazy. Why is that crazy? Because I can get an external drive to plug into my MacBook to supplement the storage that's already on board. that's 4 terabytes for like $80 or up to like $160. It's just nicer to have it all in one package, but that is a heck of a fee to pay for it. On my Mac that I've had for a couple of years, it's been my workhorse, I upgraded to 1 terabyte there, and I have like 200 gigs left. So I've almost used that all up, and I think you'll find that as your computer moves forward in the future timeline, that storage space becomes one of the biggest bottlenecks. Next, I'm gonna scroll back up and I'm gonna hit memory, and I think it's absolutely worth it to go $400 more for this 32 gigs. Whoever you are and whatever you do, having more RAM is one of the best ways to help future-proof. Then at that point, once you've hit that 1 terabyte storage, once you've got the 32 gigs of RAM, scroll back up and take another look at the processor. It's a $300 add-on, and here's what I have to say about it. Once you do like turbo boost and all this stuff, the difference between the base configuration and the top of the line with all the cores firing on all cylinders is like 10 to 30% improvement. It's not a huge boost. If you're a pro and you're doing video editing, then maybe this actually makes sense for you, because that extra performance really will help you get things done faster. You don't want to sit there like rendering and exporting all day. So maybe that's worth it. But for the average person, then probably this is not gonna make a huge difference. Honestly, most people could really just get away, even for a few years down the line, with just the base CPU configuration. So, as you're going to make your purchase, say it again with me: storage, RAM, CPU. Storage, RAM, CPU. I'm sure that's getting annoying, but I know you're gonna forget if you don't know anything about this. So storage, then the RAM, then the CPU. Just get as much storage as you can afford. I know it's expensive, but it's a lot more convenient not having to plug in an external drive. If you do need to supplement that, I'll link up some great drives down below in the description, so check those out for sure. More memory is gonna help things run faster. It's gonna help future-proof your purchase. So you definitely wanna hit that. And then at that point, once you've taken care of the SSD and the RAM, at that point you can look at whether or not you want to upgrade that processor. That is my advice to you for the average person, not for the very professional pro that's gonna do all kinds of craziness. Lots more videos coming. Make sure to hit subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Daily Tech, spelled Daily Tekk in both of those places, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.